Welcome to 99th Monkey Liberty News for Friday, October 3rd, 2014. I have just a few considerations pertaining to Ebola that I want to mention. I'm just going to, this is networked blogs, and I'm just going to scroll through the Infowars featured stories because they're mostly about Ebola, and some of them I think are probably significant, again, if true. Ebola patient's family under armed quarantine. CDC argues against shutting down air travel from Africa to stop Ebola. Dallas paramedic slams health officials, was not informed of Ebola diagnosis, drove contaminated ambulance for 2 days. DHS chatter, suspected terrorists planning to infect themselves with Ebola. If this is to be believed, mishandling of U.S. Ebola patient prompts CDC alert to hospitals. In 2010, Obama administration scrapped CDC quarantine regulations aimed at Ebola. These are all very interesting. Now, I'm still not 100% convinced that somebody in Dallas really contracted Ebola in Liberia. This is something that's stated. We know how effectively things like this have been staged, Sandy Hook and other faked events. Could it be real? I'm sure it could be real. However, there's something about this that reminds me of Job. The story of Job, the devil wanted to show God that Job really wasn't a faithful person. So he asked God if he, the devil, could mess with Job's life. And Job lost his children, his property, his wealth, and he was still okay with God. And then the devil said, okay, let me stretch forth and touch his flesh, make him sick, and then he will curse you to your face. Well, Job, of course, did not curse God, but that's kind of a fallback for the devil. Americans haven't really fully bought ISIS, Khorasan, the Syria, we need to get rid of Assad, the gassing of the children in Syria. We haven't bought those things. To a large extent, we've been able to hold our balance on many of those issues. So now what's happening? Threaten them, make them think that they're going to be sick. Or perhaps, Job really did become sick in the book of Job. This is one of the last things the devil tries on people to get people to fail and fall, is sickness. So I think to me that, as I said, it reminds me of something. I think there's a connection here that, okay, if Americans have been able to see through ISIS, see through Khorasan, see through Fast and Furious, see through the, okay, maybe Obama's really not an American citizen, or perhaps his father is someone other than who is identified. We're seeing through the stuff. So here comes Ebola to terrify us and cause us to stop thinking logically and focus only on either Ebola or escapist things like baseball and football. But another idea about Ebola that had eluded me, that Don mentioned to me yesterday, I hadn't thought about this, hadn't read anything about this, the fact that China, of course the cabal wants to claim Africa. We all know that. At least everybody watching this video probably knows it. If you don't know it, leave a comment and I'll send you some links. But so China has become active in Africa as well. So some people have mentioned that perhaps this Ebola outbreak is designed to, of course, accomplish many purposes, but one of the purposes may well be to oppose China's interests in Africa. And I didn't choose one of these articles. I just did a Startpage search, Ebola, China interests in Africa. And of course, what is going on in Hong Kong, many people believe that right now we're on the verge of a major financial breakthrough that has been, to some extent, orchestrated by China. And the cabal may be moving against China in these ways to block or punish, or who knows. I mean, I don't want to understand the way their minds work exactly. But I haven't said very much about Hong Kong except to mention Fire Chat, by which the protesters are communicating with one another even if the internet gets shut down. But because of some of the other things that are going on, I think it's worth mentioning what's going on there. And this is from RT. Internal affair. Beijing warns foreign countries not to meddle in Hong Kong. And I'm not going to get real deeply into that, but I have read here and there speculation that the U.S. or, the interests, the social engineers, have been meddling in Hong Kong. And anytime there are protesters, this is an Occupy movement, and here, protesters threaten to occupy buildings, and I have read blurbs, headlines that there is speculation that Western interests are contributing at least to what's going on in Hong Kong. And that is the Western model that's the Western answer for pretty much any international problem. Destabilize, move in, it's a problem, reaction, solution. I want to look at ISIS really just a little bit, and it's not even ISIS, it's just the idea of deception that I really want to emphasize. This is an article from the Vatican Project. Pentagon official, the president is lying to America about us and about ISIS. In the Vatican note, the only thing I can guess about why the PTB are acting like they are fighting within is because they need a revolution like these bankers had in 1917 with the Russians, and then in 1933 with the Germans, and then both lost in their world wars. The PTB may well be trying to get us to overthrow our government in order to ensure our loss of World War III. Interesting perspective, and certainly something to consider. Looking at all of this just from the perspective of being lied to the extent that it becomes really difficult to determine what is true. From RT, a fake terror threat, Khorasan group, a fake threat meant to scare the U.S. into war. Again, we've rejected various lies that have been thrown at us and asked Congress not to do certain things, not to affirm wars. The Pentagon has resisted getting involved in a war. But this pressure just does not let up. And these people do not, the social engineers, they do not quit. It's a part of their code. And let's face it, if they were to quit, they would suffer punishment. So for them, it's all or nothing. And they will not quit. Another story that really highlights the extent to which lies are being told and threats being made. From rawstory.com, U.S. could topple my government and kill me, Argentina President Cristina Kirchner. And this article is very well worth reading. She is very aware of what the U.S. is doing and the lies that are being spun. Here's a quote. So, if something happens to me, don't look to the Mideast, look north to the United States, Kirchner said at Government House. This is a very public statement that she was making. Just hours after the U.S. Embassy here warned its citizens to take extra safety precautions in Argentina, an aggravated Kirchner said, when you see what has been coming out of diplomatic offices, they had better not come in here and try to sell some tall tale about ISIS trying to track me down so they can kill me. Kudos to this lady. Wow, I'd like to think that there are many leaders throughout the world who share her insight and wisdom. And I'm hoping that messages like hers will be heard more far and more widely, and that more people will become aware of what's going on. I saw this, we are approaching the weekend, so maybe some time for some introspection. I noticed this yesterday, and I just kind of found it interesting. What is really scary this October? Well, it's us. 10 signs you believe it is wrong to be happy. And I think it's worth taking a look at these 10 signs that you subconsciously believe it is wrong to be happy. And hey, we are coming up on the weekend, so if you can find something that makes you happy and do something fun. Great. Another natural news article leaning toward good news. Governments seize colloidal silver being used to treat Ebola patients, says advocate. And this, of course, the headline is not good news, but the good news is that colloidal silver has been used to treat Ebola patients and has been effective. So they're trying to block. Of course, you know, if someone has introduced this, if someone is desiring for there to be sickness, then they don't really want a cure. If the social engineers want Africans dead and there is a cure, the cure is not going to reach the Africans if the social engineers have anything to say or do about it. So Africa is a tragedy. Africa has been a tragedy for a very long time. And I know God loves the African people, and there will be punishment from God. You know, don't talk a lot about judgment, but people will have to give account for how they have treated Africans. People will have to give account. One day all of us will have to give account for how we've treated everybody. So there's no question that this is very wrong. But the little bright spot here is that, again, colloidal silver has been used to treat Ebola with some effectiveness. And probably a large degree of effectiveness if used in certain ways, if there's enough and it's taken internally. And for the final, call it good news, or at least encouragement for the day, from Oath Keepers, remain calm. And this article suggests means by which we can remain calm, with a strong emphasis on being prepared. So if things do start to get ugly, this can encourage you and help you learn how to prepare and maybe think about some issues that you hadn't thought about before. Thank you for tuning in for today's 99th Monkey Liberty News. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Hoping that you will indeed have a peaceful and enjoyable weekend, that you will love one another, take care, stay well, and insist on liberty.